ideas can bring people.
Can I have your attention, everyone? Just as Imogen is trying to find our ballot for debate, so hopefully that doesn't take too long, but just as you're doing that, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the standing orders, which I'm sure you probably know already, but after 1 minute you'll have a bang like this, which signals the end of protected time. You are from then on encouraged to make points of information to the other speaker. After the 4th minute you'll have another bang like this, and that will signify the end of the open floor time. And after 5 minutes you will have a double bang, which should signify that you should start coming to your closing remarks, and after 15 seconds thereafter you hear more banging, and that's to show that you should really probably start solving. And yeah.
Yeah, please stop.
He's got the ballot.
Oh, yay!
Thank you, Mom.
Right, who's speaking first from opening government? Guys, opening government, who's speaking first? And your panel? Yep. Who's speaking first from opening opposition? Opening opposition? Who's speaking first?
Me.
And your Anna?
And yes.
And from closing government? And you are Rina?
Yeah.
Okay, and closing opposition? I'm just like guess the gender of the very successful. Okay, right. Let's get cracking then. If we could then welcome the Prime Minister to open the case which stands in her name. Also, just to say, I would strongly recommend that you time yourself speak. Just to everyone in the room. It gives you an idea of when to move on.
Pardon? What did you say?
I recommend that you time yourself speak. If you think it'd be useful. I've got a spell. I will do that.
Okay. Well, I live in the Netherlands, but I'm originally from Korea, and then I'm gonna talk about the difference between in Korea and in the Netherlands about the people LGBT, people lesbians, gays, and bisexuals and transsexuals. In Korea, people in general talk more positive things about these people in Netherlands, and then in Korea they don't talk about it. And then what they talk about these people are all negative. And then, so in general ideas, like in the Netherlands, I see that people are more open-minded about these people than Korea. I heard about a guy from my mom that a person who she knows, and then he has been living, and he's still living with a woman, with his wife for 10 years when he's a gay, and he doesn't want to like divorce, or he doesn't even have courage to live with a guy he loves because of what other people think, and then that really impacts him a lot in the bad ways in his life, because he cannot live with the people he loves because of what other people think. And then like when I was in Korea, although there was lesbians or gays from my friends, I never saw any single person who actually dates with them or make it official, because they are just and they are just afraid what the other people think. Anyway, and then like when I came to the Netherlands, I saw in my school more people who are open to their state, and who are more open to their way of love or their preference in terms of sexual, because in the Netherlands people think more positively. And what I'm saying is that what people think, and then like what in general they think, is really important, and that actually affect a lot to these people. And then that's why I believe that this motion is so significant and should be discussed. And also, okay, so this House believes that EU should force member states to include positive references to LGBT individuals and issues in their high school textbooks. I'm a high school student. Okay.
So you're saying that in EU it's actually okay, in Netherlands it's okay, and in EU there's really no problem with tolerance against LGBT people?
I'm not saying that there is a problem still. So I think, so the government think there should be this there should be more specific in this education, because there is a problem still, and also it will bring more positive effect. And then before that, I also used to live in the Philippines, and then in the Philippines when I was young, I first saw this transsexual woman. And when I first saw her, I was so shocked, and then when she was starting to talk to me, I just got freaked out, and I just ran out of the room. I know it was so rude, and I know it was so impolite, but I didn't know how to like deal with her. I just got really scared. And then when I think back at the time, what if I was learned, or what if I actually heard about them, or what if I had positive ideas about them? I wouldn't react like that. And I think in that terms, it is really important to include positive reference to about these people in our educational system. We are not saying that we should more focus on these people. We are just saying that when we reference to those people in our educational system, it should be balanced. Education is it's based on the fact. You should learn, the students have the right to learn about the basic fact. It cannot be they cannot only like reference to the negative things. This is not about more focusing on these issues, but it's about like these existing issues. Those should be balanced. And we as the government believe that students have the right to be educated what is going on and on the factual issues. And at the same time, we also believe that the minorities, those people, LGBT people, also have the right to love who they feel for, or who should be lived as the people who they are. And then we can enable this by bringing positive ideas to the high school students, and by imposing this kind of educational system to our existing educational systems. And also, if we only focus, and by not including positive references to these people, they are shaping, however, like, although they are not directly saying that, yeah, they should be discriminated, they are bad, but we are somehow not including this. We are shaping the way of the student think, and that is why they cannot express when it comes to their shoes. So that's why we believe that the EU should force member states to include positive reference to LGBT individuals and issues in their high school textbooks. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for his speech and call upon the Leader of the Opposition.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is how my speech is going to look like. First of all, I'm going to address some rebuttal, and then I will bring my own two constructive points, which are united in diversity, and the second of all is propaganda. But first of all, the rebuttal. So, what we saw in the proposition, the government speech, that they saw a great problem with LGBT people in Korea and Philippines. But what we didn't see, that there's a problem in EU. They brought a great example of the Netherlands. Everything is okay here. Everyone tolerates everyone. So, but we see that this particular motion is still about the EU and what we should do in EU countries. So, first of all, I would like to say that they brought out no problem at all existing, and thus we totally agree with that. We see that there is no problem, and right now the status quo is a very great. Tolerance level in the EU is already really high, and the problem with subjective portrayal of LGBT people just doesn't exist. So, moving on to my constructive points. First of all, united in diversity. The EU, what is it all about? Look, EU is about acknowledging that we are all diverse. We have different needs, different policies, different countries, and different mental states of people, but we all have same rights. We firmly want to say that we shouldn't, as this big union, as EU, we shouldn't force our opinion to all these diverse nations that we have in this nation. Yeah, because all these nations have different issues with LGBT people, different situations, and we say that by portraying them positively, this is not addressing this problem with this specific regulation, and so we see this is really bad if we only focus on the positive, because the problems in some countries will not be addressed by this. And what is really bad if you focus on the positive? This brings me to my second constructive point, which is propaganda.
Information.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you believe that if they only put negative effect, that is propaganda?
No, but we say right now this portrayal is objective by textbooks. We say that textbooks are not negative right now. And you brought out no examples of them being negative right now. So we think this status quo is actually really great. And we firmly protect that. So, but let's just assume that we had a problem with LGBT people. And how would we address this problem? Would really this positive propaganda will be the right means to do that? We should know. We think no. Because promoting should be done by the LGBT people, not they should show us how great they are, how they will not harm us, how they respect us, so the people in the society will actually believe them. This will not be done by the other way around, like the society, this big union saying, now we think collectively that all of those peoples are great. No, thank you. And you should believe this, because for two reasons. Generally, we don't like lying to our people. We always give them objective information based on which they can make their own assumptions about different problems. So if this information is now tilted, maybe it will affect the opinions of our people, and we don't want this. We want a free-thinking society, and we stand firmly on that. The second reason is that even if we do this, even if we force the positive effects into our textbooks, this simply won't work. Because, you know, one thing you read on a textbook, but the other thing is what you actually see in the streets, your own human connection, your individual experience with the LGBT people. Like, for example, if there are massive gay parades when they are shouting slogans and sometimes being very loud and rude and annoying to you, all of a sudden you don't believe what's on the textbook because your own individual experience says so many other things. So this will really not work. So because of those two things, that we are diverse but united and will not live under some general rule which is opposed to us. And the second thing, that propaganda just doesn't work. For these reasons, I'm very happy to propose. And my second speaker will bring a third argument, which will address the trust in our education system from the people. So yes, for those two reasons, I'm very happy to oppose. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Anna for her speech and call upon the Deputy
Sorry, I have to restart this or something. How does it work?
You taught me.
You have to
Choose the right mode.
I'm just trying to restart it, but somehow the time flows by or something. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are several things that we would like to address in this speech. Firstly, we would like to discuss the statement that there is that the current issue or current status quo is problematic, and that there is no propaganda by including positive references into textbooks. Firstly, we would like to review the argument that the subjective, it was called subjective portrayal and rights for everyone and other statements. We think that the countries in the EU, I mean the people in the EU, whether they are minorities and they are different or whatever, the same standard should be applied in every country. So every citizen of the European Union should not be infringed or obtain a lower rank of rights. His package of rights should be standardized, and we believe that every human being in every country should have the same rights as Netherlands or Germany or whoever who has developed the doctrine of okay.
Do you think, okay, same standards, but do same means to accomplish these standards would apply to every country?
Yes, of course, because minimum standards should be guaranteed, and they are not. And this is why we see the problem, and this is why EU should force these countries which do not accept it voluntarily to accept human rights for this minority. So we do not believe that there is something as individual opinion, because also prejudices are individual, meritocracy, statuses, people viewing each other as they are labeled before they get a chance. I do not understand why should somebody or some minority compete for their fanciness or popularity or something. They should be granted rights as they are. I do not really think that they should somehow deserve these rights, and this is why I think that the textbooks should give every citizen an opportunity to change thinking, discuss. As we know that the greatest elemental human fear is the fear of the unknown, and we mean that this tool, this policy tool, is most efficient, because in every school everybody can obtain balanced information. We do not mean the propaganda or some kind of positive reference that we will say, okay, everybody is beautiful, nice, and they are, I don't know, making up some other kinds of positive references. But what we mean is not including negative references. We mean that currently status quo is so that these textbooks are unbalanced. There is a great number of negative references, and we think that positive references, which are evident, research-based, or so, should be also included. So this kind of minority shouldn't be touched, their status. And no double standards in EU. They should be forced. Education should be, I will take you in a minute, sorry. Same rights, same standards, and balanced education. These are three main principles. We do not want to promote something or do some propaganda, and we do not think that the problems will solve themselves. We believe that education is key to discussion, changing thinking, changing the patterns, rooted patterns of thinking and approaching the people. We think that they are unknown and they have to suppress their personalities, and they are also equal citizens, so they should not be. Also, if informal mechanisms fail, as for example society, intelligent, educated people, to accept these people, we have to step towards more strict standards, and this is legal regulation. So, okay, sorry.
Yes. Do you have some clear examples of negativity in textbooks by your own experience?
Of course, we can. We do not have to make it up. We know that there are some issues, and to answer your question, for example, if we say that for example, these minorities have a higher level of promiscuity, or they are much more. They have a greater tendency to obtain the sexually transmitted diseases because of some positive facts, which are not value-based judgments or something. These can be possible, but also, you know, I'm not a gender researcher or doing this kind of stuff, so I will not make up or bring some kind of something that will be made up, but this is the point what we were trying to say, and it was balancing the education. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my speech, I'm going to talk about the different perspective that exists in the European Union towards the issue, and then I'll tell you more about the United in Diversity and propaganda stuff. But first, there's a very important thing we should talk today. In the European Union, there are very different countries, with very different societies, with very different roots. The difference between EU countries that are former communist countries and Netherlands is very big towards understanding this kind of people, gay and so on. So whenever European Union approaches such a subject, it should take into consideration that these people have different views towards that. These people have different level of understanding the issue, have different levels of education, have different historical background, have different experience. So when, no, thank you. When the European Union comes and forces the states to do education in this way and forces them all, we might agree that in some countries that would work. But unfortunately, there are also some countries in which this aspect would not be well received. Moreover, we receive violence from people. So people will not understand this. People will take this as a way in which we encourage this kind of sexual orientation, but they will not see the need for encouraging it. They will just see the fact that some people encourage that, even if our social beliefs are different from that. So people will not understand this, but they'll become violent. Also, there's a fact towards nothing. There's a fact towards that, well, I am scared when I see LGBT person on the street. Too bad. Biology should have told you that these guys are all right and do not transmit diseases just because they have this sexual orientation. It's just a matter of aspect how you see these people, because this idea of being scared of something you don't know can turn us back to the point where we should see that some people are prepared for understanding this and some people are not. Okay, about the United University, but before that.
May I speak?
Yes.
Oh. I wanted to ask you that who, when, and how will decide when people will be prepared to accept this, because once there isn't something...
Okay, I got it. The idea of understanding where people are prepared for that is something that's not that easy, but can be settled in time. What we know for sure right now is that there are great differences between states, and what we know for sure by now is that we cannot force a certain type of education to all the European member states because they differ in a very large way. So that will be uniting the diversity, and that is why we should not force this level or this type of educational thing. Second, about propaganda. Okay, we have a group of people. We have some people that we accept. It is not about giving them rights. They have the same rights, and they should have the same rights. But not about giving them rights, but it's about the way we are taught about them. So here we have the fact that by implementing this measure, it will be a propaganda. If I will stop a bit about an aspect. If there are currently negative aspects about these people, they should be erased. It's not okay, and we disagree with this. We shouldn't have neither positive nor negative aspects about them. But returning to my point about propaganda, what I will try to say here is that these people, if they are not integrated currently in society, they should probably do better towards that. Because they have the rights they need, they are accepted in large parts of this, but they tend to be very extravagant. They tend to be very even violent in promoting themselves. We believe that when these people choose to promote themselves in a very violent way, like the gay parades and so on, that are being seen with such a large skepticism by other people, and it's true and it's proper to do that, not because they are gay, but because they promote themselves in a very sexual way and a very extravagant way, we should reconsider how we want to promote them. Because this kind of positive discrimination would not lead to them being proper integrated, but will lead to them being, would lead to the European Union forcing us to believe that they are ready to be integrated and they don't have anything else to learn, but they do have a lot of things to learn and they should learn. Thank you.
Okay, we see there. There we are. Okay, we're speaking about that the EU should force members of states to include positive references to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual involved in and issues in high school textbooks. Okay, I think that's very important because nowadays gay people are a very normal part of our society, and I think this difference between homosexuals and heterosexuals, because they don't understand each other as well they should. And where is a better place to tell them about homosexuals than schools? Well, usually parents at home won't tell their kids about homosexuality because no parent wants to see their child marrying another man, or their little daughter thinking about other little daughters. Okay, so I think nowadays we have a fear at both sides. No, thank you. No, thank you. Fear on both sides. Gay people who are young are afraid to come out of the closet, so to say. They are afraid of being discriminated, and young people who don't understand gay people are afraid of them. In Pärnu, there's also a lot of gay people, and I have to say bisexuals, and I'm not really into them also because I don't really know about them and I don't understand their way of thinking.
So,
Yes.
by your plan, education will be kind of tilted. It won't be no longer objective. Will people still trust this education system if it's tilted?
I think the education system is already a little bit tilted, and I think that yes, they will trust it. Okay, and I will go to my second point, that I think in this fear context it will create a violence because gay people, as it was said before, tend to promote themselves in these fancy parades, but I think there are normal gay people who just live a regular life, go to work, have a nice meal, and these gay people are, I think, are extremists that just go out on the street in weird costumes and dance, and this creates so much difference between heterosexuals and these other people. And in I have heard stories that in gay clubs in Estonia, let's say, there are people who just deliberately go there to beat up gay guys because they don't understand them and they just think they're freaks. And
Question, please.
well, thank you. Okay, and this is kind of about human rights, because everybody should have equal rights in EU, and well, yes.
Would a reference in a textbook help people to not get out on the street and beat people up?
Well, maybe they could understand them and see them as regular, normal people. They don't think them as freaks or weird people. Yes?
You said in your speech a little bit earlier that heteros think that those parades are weird and it creates confusion. Are you positive that when you force the positive sides of those people upon the society, that they would accept those things and the confusion would be gone?
Yes. Okay, and the propaganda point, I think I think it's not true, because in now textbooks in biology, I think the propaganda is on the regular people. We think that the normal heterosexual healthy person is the normal way of life, and we promote this ideal of person as a normal part of society, and everything that tilts away from that is a little bit different, and we tend to not accept it. And this positive information in the textbooks and teaching young people to understand gay people, I think could make a change in the long term. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member of Government, to call upon the Member of Opposition.
Hello. So I'm gonna furthermore talk about why EU shouldn't force member states to issue positive references about LGBT in textbooks. The first opposition team brought out a lot of good arguments on the table, but they left out some really important details that I would like to go into. First of all, question to this room: what is positive? How can we define positive? Who is that person who defines what is positive and what is not? For instance, something that for me seems positive and good might be bad and even insulting for the rest of you in this room. So we cannot be 100% sure that something that will be put into these textbooks will be positive or will be taken positively everywhere around EU. Secondly, we don't think it's fair to force something like that upon member states, because when states step into the EU Union, there are already a lot of standards. In a minute, there are already a lot of standards that those countries have to fulfill, and we think that education is something that every country needs to run by itself, and not some big union who tells them what to do. Yes, please.
So so basically you're saying that these minority people in certain member states in Europe shouldn't be any, like, there is no any help for them, because and they can be just discriminated because their government, I mean their situation is different. Don't you think they have to also be cared? No matter where they're from?
No, we don't think that it's okay that they could be, that we can let them discriminate those people, but we also don't think that it's fair that all those states will have to put something positive in their textbooks, which are all word by word defined exactly the same way, and that can cause a lot of confusion between countries, because like the first opposition team said, the culture and historical differences are so big that that alone will create a lot of confusion. Thank you. Also, forcing this upon people will, we believe at least, that it will not create positive, but there's a bigger chance that it will cause even more negative emotions towards these people, because people will see and discover that people never like that something is forced upon them. If they want to know about these people, if they want to discover who they really are, they should do it themselves and decide themselves. A little bit later, please. And also, even if this motion would be enforced in the EU, then it wouldn't actually, we cannot guarantee that it would solve the problem, because in the end, the people who are going to these schools and reading these textbooks, they are gonna make their minds up all by themselves and by what's surrounding them in their community. Yes, please.
Well, you said people don't want to learn what they're forced to learn, but nowadays we have very strict schedules which are forced to us. Do you feel like the history of learning is it forced to, but you still learn it? And my question is why do you think people will take it like it's forced to them? Why they take it as a natural part of this educational system?
Okay. Well, those right now what we already have the schedule. It's been like it's been being developed for many years already, and but this subject is something that shouldn't be mandatory, and that's why we think this shouldn't be enforced upon the members of the EU. Thank you.
Well, we're opposed that the EU should force member states to include positive references to LGBT individuals and issues in their high school textbooks. First, I wanted to say something to your statements. You said that positive is always interpreted differently, but what's said about homosexual people now is that homosexuality is an illness, and when an homosexual comes near you, you can get the illness too. I think we can all agree on that that's quite negative. So I think we should all we should all learn to know that that's not the way to go. Then we discussed the open-mindedness of people. If they get in contact with homosexuality, if they learn more about how those people live and how they feel, we can understand them and take more knowledge. I think people are afraid always of what they don't know. So if they would know it, they would act less aggressive, and well, that's a good thing. Well, education gives knowledge, and a lot of parents don't want to tell their kids that homosexuality is a good thing because they don't think so. But if the young people learn that homosexuality is a good thing from school, they can teach their kids that later. I think I'm done. I don't know. I'm sorry.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we showed you that the European Union shouldn't force member states to include positive references to LGBT individuals and issues in their high school textbooks. We gave you 3 arguments. We first told you to let the member states choose themselves. We can't force them to include positive references about LGBTs in their textbooks. We think they should have the freedom to choose themselves. Secondly, we told you that positive doesn't have a precise definition. What might be positive to you could be very negative to me. And thirdly, forcing people will invade their personal freedom. If we force schools to include positive references about LGBTs, the students don't have the choice anymore to study it or not.
Point of information.
No, thank you. Besides, not in every country the problem is as big as we think. We have a huge difference in cultural and historical. We have a huge no, thank you. We have a huge historical and cultural difference between the countries within the European Union. Out of personal experience, I can tell you that here in Holland the problem is so much smaller than, for example, in Italy, where I was last summer. And the government pleads for rights for all LGBTs in every country to be equal. We think that's very important, but the government has totally missed the point. We can't achieve this. No, thank you. We can't just achieve this by writing positive references. No, thank you. positive references in textbook. The best we can do for this problem is provide as many information as we can to the citizens and let them make up their own mind. We can't just force them to think positive about LGBTs if you don't want to think positive. We think we should have a free-minded population of people in a country and let people make up their own decisions and make up their own mind. So you just talked about people thinking that being an LGBT could be an illness, but that's just a really, really small group. And like I said, the best thing we could do is provide as much information as we can through campaigns and through schools also. But by providing information, we could solve this problem. And writing in textbook is like really drastic for this small problem. Yes.
I believe that as the government, we believe that there are plenty of information being provided to the citizens which are negative. That's why we are saying that there should be positive information as well should be included. Don't you agree?
I do agree, but I don't think the government is providing negative information about LGBTs throughout the country through campaigns. I think that's positive information that they're spreading through their citizens. Yes.
You said that it was not a large problem, but I think it is. There's a large group being discriminated.
I said that the illness point, what you pointed out, isn't that big. That's just like a really, really small group.
That's just an example of the problem.
So the best thing we can do is provide as much information as we can. Thank you. Yes.
Since the European Union is consist of really different nations and they all have different situations, however, the purpose of existence of this union is to find a way which can develop the Europe as in general. And in this sense, like although the situations are different, not only in terms of this motion, but the economic situations are different, cultural situations are different. But in order to fulfill the way the European Union is functioning, don't you think there need to be a certain extent of enforcement needed?
Yes, that's why we have standards, but we don't force them to do. We don't force our member states to do whatever we think is good. We give them a standard, and the country themselves choose how to fulfill the standard, how to get there. Thank you.